Hey, Andrew from SureFire. I want to talk to you today about accessory pressure switches for our long gun weapon lights, our Scout Light series and our Scout Light Pros. Before we jump into those, I want to talk about our Z68, which is our standard tail cap that ships with our Scout Light series of weapon lights. So it's a shrouded tail cap, which means it has a surrounding that protects it from accidental discharge. If you sling a rifle, you don't have to worry about the light accidentally turning on. It has a push button, which you can momentarily activate pretty consistently, or you can push it all the way through to click it for constant on. So that's the standard switch that ships with our Scout Light series. It's an awesome switch. That said, depending on your configuration, depending on where you mount your weapon light, if you have lasers, accessories, or whatever your preferences are, you might want to, or you might need to run an accessory pressure switch. To do that, we have accessory tail caps that accept the pressure switch. We have both the UE series and our DS series. The UE is a plug socket only pressure switch accepting tail cap. So basically it's a very low profile plug socket that you plug our pressure switches into. The UE comes in both black and tan, and it's really low profile. Super nice option for adding a pressure switch. We also have our DS switch. DS stands for dual switch. This has both the plug socket for adding a pressure switch as well as a push button directly on the tail cap. So it gets a little bit bigger, a little more bulky. However, you have the redundancy of being able to activate the light directly on the tail cap. This is both a momentary activation push button as well as you can click it for constant on. Also worthy of note with the DS switch is you can rotate wherever the push button or the plug socket is. And what I mean by that is if you back off the tail cap, back off the DS so you don't fully tighten it, the portion backwards of the knurled portion rotates independently so that you can place the push button exactly where you want it, time it exactly where you want it, and then you go ahead and retighten the tail cap. And that can help you kind of position things to your preference. Moving on to our accessory pressure switches. I'll start with the SR07. This is probably our most popular pressure switch as of yet. It's a rubber overmolded switch that clamps onto a Picatinny rail. It has both a momentary activation pad as well as a constant on dome switch. This switch also has slots in the front and the back if you want to add zip ties to further secure it just as extra insurance. It's not needed. This has plenty of retention by itself, but some people like the added security of adding some zip ties to it. So that's our SR07. Next up, we have our SR07 DIT. This has two down leads, one for our Scout Light tail caps, as well as one for the Insight plug sockets. So this is primarily for use with laser devices, specifically for night vision, like a PEC-15 and LA5, laser devices such as that. There's two pads on the switch, one with a dimple and one without, so that in low light conditions you can kind of feel which switch is for what. The dimple is for the weapon light down lead, the smooth one is for the laser down lead. You kind of see it mounted up on this rifle right here. So the backward switch, if I switch it to white light, the backward switch is for activation, the front is for the laser. Again, as seen here, this is our Vampire Series Scout Light. You can use it for the IR illuminator as well as for the laser. Moving on, we have our brand new CSP and CSM switches. CS stands for compact switch. As you can see next to the SR, it is significantly shorter. This gives you a little bit more flexibility with where you can mount it, especially as real estate gets to be a premium with shorter and shorter, smaller rifles and PDWs. This is an excellent option for that application. Just like the SR07, it's a rubber overmold that clamps on to a Picatinny switch. For the CSP, it also has slots for adding zip ties if you want. In its design, the button is shrouded, so again, you don't have to worry about negligent discharge of the light, but you can still consistently momentarily activate it with a half press, or you can fully press and click the switch for constant on activation. The CSM, M stands for mlock, so this is for your mlock rails. If you want to mount it on any of the available mlock slots on your firearm, this is a really good option for that. It also still has that shrouded push button, and similar to the CSP, it intentionally has a long throw, so you can consistently, momentarily activate the light, but you can also push it straight through for constant on activation. So, one more thing worthy of note is the numbers in the switches. So for instance, with like the SR07, the 7 is referring to the 7-inch cable length. We also have and SR09, which is a 9-inch cable length. We have a couple different cable lengths for a few different switches. Not every length and every switch, but a few different options available. So if you're looking for something else, check out our website. We might have something specifically that'll fit you. We've found that generally speaking, 7 inches is the perfect length for most long gun applications and where you want to mount it. You know, it's a fine line between having too much cable where you need to stow it out of the way and then not having enough to reach where you want it to reach. So if you have more questions on our accessory pressure switches, please check out our website, and that's SureFire.com.